Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's presentation about future proofing your career and entrepreneurship for Black women in the next 5 to 10 years, starting, you could say now, if you haven't started yet, or if you're in your career, this will be a great area to start now, or just some um, opportunities to look into when we're talking about building wealth amongst yourselves. And so this will be a nice little presentation about 5 to 10 years to um, build your careers. Or again, if you may be in a career now and you want to step into entrepreneurship, or if you're in entrepreneurship now, these are still valid avenues to go through if you want to get into trades, to tech, STEM. I pretty much did some research and I feel these are great avenues for Black women to start in. Now, this is not for every Black woman out there, but this is a great avenue to start in and for your young ones to also take a look at in your house as well. Now, let's get to it. Today, we're talking about the next decade of wealth for Black women. The next 5 to 10 years present a rare opportunity. High paying trades are wide open, STEM careers are exploding, and business leadership is calling for women ready to step into finance and ownership. This isn't about survival anymore. This is about future proofing careers and building generational wealth, ladies. Now, why future proof careers matter? Okay. By 2030, 85 million jobs worldwide will be displaced by automation. It's here, it's been on the way, ladies. I am very optimistic. I don't try to look at things that it's going to take my job. This presentation is to empower you, encourage you to get the skills you need so you never have to feel like something's going to take your job. This is how you stay ahead of the game. I do not feel as if anything is going to prevent me from staying in the game and ahead of the game. Okay. So here's the flip side: 97 million new roles will emerge. So I used to tell people just because AI is going to take over maybe a position or robotics, they're still going to need human interaction. It's imperative. Like, to me, as a cybersecurity professional and as an entrepreneur myself, the human touch has to be there. There's no reason to continue to remove it completely. So that means the future belongs to people, and especially women who are prepared to step into these roles. Black women are already leaders in education. Okay. Now it's about landing in the right industries, the ones that guarantee six-figure income, ownership, and influence. Now let's talk about the trades in high demand. When people hear trades, they think old school blue collar, right? But trades today are STEM driven, tech powered, and recession proof. Now, I don't know if you ever heard, it's not about who swings the hammer, it's how we can get that hammer to swing. Now, there are some people out there that may talk about, hey, robotics or any of that will never touch this field or that field. But as an engineer, I can tell you, um, if I can think about how to do it, we're going to figure out, other people are definitely already figuring out how to implement it. Meaning, if someone is swinging a hammer, I can think of a way to build a robot or a machine that can swing that hammer better. Think of 3D printing. There's roads that you can 3D print, there's homes, there's other tools. Some people may have printed out guns, but these are things that are coming straight from your mind and being created or manifested right before you. So it's true. If you think it, you can manifest it. Truly, you really can. Or if you don't, someone else will. So this is again to get you ahead of the curve. If you're in trades right now and you're not thinking of a way to bring in AI, or you're thinking, I just got to work all my life, put in labor all my life, that is not the way. Some people can be too prideful and think that work has to be the hard way or so tough. Or some people are just afraid of change because they don't want to learn new things. And those people, unfortunately, will not get ahead. So this is a great presentation to show you how to get ahead. Trades is a great area to look into. Okay. Now, electricians, for example, by 2028, the US will face a shortage of 500,000 of them. That's six-figure opportunity. And I know some electricians that are making way more than I am, right? And it just takes some time. You can go to take an apprenticeship, and I encourage apprenticeships. Always seek out a master or mentor. Don't. I'm nothing against people who have coaching programs, but you need to make sure that you're seeking out master teachers. People who are in the field doing the work. Someone who may be a coach, and this is not for everyone. They may have never done anything in that field, but they studied enough to create a program for you to pay for, right? When I was coming up in my field, I was able to, invest in courses, but these courses were mostly from people who were already in the field. So that's another thing. Make sure you join an apprenticeship. Construction project managers, they earn $98,000 on average, and the top end hits about $150,000. Okay, if you're listening to me, ladies, 100K to 150K, it's not some crazy number based on the economy and our numbers. Now we'll see how things go with the current administration here in the U.S. And I would say we'll see how things go because costs can come down at some point. We don't know. Costs may rise up, but if you target a salary goal for yourself, you can definitely survive better than people who did not take this heed and learn to get into a trade or a skill or just a skill. I like trades. I like, tech and all that. But my aim is to get you to focus on getting you a skill. And whatever that skill is, you need to get it, and it needs to be something that makes money. It's not about the things that you may do right now. Like, and again, this is nothing against these women making plates or doing this and doing that. We got to think higher than what our mothers and grandmothers used to think about because that day and age is no longer here, right? We have the technology, you have the access and resources right now to never have to lend back on making plates for people, right? Now you can become your own master electrician and start your own business and go out, do surveys, help on projects. That's the opportunities you want to seek out, and you want to seek them out globally once you take some time for a time to learn. So, putting in a good 5 to 10 years or just a good 5 years of just working in the field and continuing to be the apprentice, be the student. That means you got to watch your energy. People aren't all attacking you. People aren't coming to come down on you because if you got the apprenticeship or the job, they've already looked at investing into you. So you have to take advantage of that opportunity. Okay. Now, plumbing contractors, HVAC engineers, wind turbine technicians, these are all fields where women can thrive, earn six figures, and even own their own firms. Okay. So these are opportunities I'm just speaking to. For example, again, myself, because I went into the information technology world, ended up becoming a cybersecurity analyst and move up to becoming an engineer. However, before I even got into that, I was already someone who would come up with solutions or was around someone who showed me how to be more solution based. So for me, that's what I'm saying. I'm not too worried about a job because I have the skills to do my own thing and I have done my own thing, right? So this is just to give you an idea of gaining the skill so that you can do your own thing. I feel we as Black women, we need to continue to pursue entrepreneurship, but we have to hit the high level, high income areas in order to dominate and continue to stimulate the economy, right? All right. Now, STEM careers, the growth engine, okay? So when I'm talking about STEM, me as a cybersecurity engineer, I'll say I made probably the amount you see on the screen as an analyst, and I didn't have to have the title of cybersecurity engineer. So that's another thing I would say. If you're focusing on your skills, meaning you're just grinding, getting on jobs that's going to give you the opportunity just to get the skill, You may not have to see yourself on that job forever. Do it because you're going to get some health benefits. Do it because you're going to get the skills. You're going to have a network of people to work with that you can always communicate with, and just grow, right? But this is really a good field to get into so that you can earn the most that you can and even more because you got the skill. So let's talk a little bit more about STEM. These are the engines of the global economy. So this is just not just US based. This is everywhere. Everywhere you're looking. And me, we call it keeping our ear on to the wire. So not just for cyber stuff, but I look into it for job outlook, housing, what maybe looking at Africa, if they have their own internet there, you want to look at that as an opportunity at some point because it may take some time for Africa to really grow to what we have. And we're talking about connection, media, cyber, all these things we're talking about that Africa still is taking in. Then you have Latin America, same thing. You have an opportunity there, Europe, China, Singapore, Bali, wherever you go, because you obtain a skill, in demand skill especially, you can get a job anywhere. So that's the important thing I'm trying to also convey here. Why getting a skill is very important. Cybersecurity engineers, as I mentioned, the median is about 120K, but it's probably way over that, and the job growth is over 30% or 33%, by 2030. So there's a lot of projects. Those are things you want to look into: construction projects, data centers. What's coming. You have a lot of companies that still have not created a cybersecurity department or team, or maybe they can't afford it, but maybe they can afford a cybersecurity engineer or someone who can come in and just do the things they need to because data still has to be protected. So that's why a position like that is great. AI and machine learning specialist. AI is a huge thing. Now, I'll say when I first kind of started to really get into technology, I would say probably 2012, 2013. Because of people I was around, a small group of people, I was able to already understand AI. Now, the tools weren't there yet, right? We didn't have the tools that we have now. So, you look at that too. While everybody is excited about AI and they're doing basic stuff like content and, things that a job will already have because they already hired a marketing team. What I'm saying? Corporations, they already have a marketing team. So they don't need sometimes other people to come in and create all this content and stuff for them. Their marketing team is going to do it. And they may hire them, onto their marketing team. So you want to look at something higher than that, right? Something that you can uh, focus on in a niche, maybe in AI, machine learning, maybe data centers, maybe AI security, like things like that you want to kind of look into, or robotics, communicating with AI, different things like that. You can be a specialist beyond just, hey, I'm making some content or I'm doing something simple as making an AI caller. You can do way more than that, right? Data scientists, biotech researchers, cloud architects, all of these roles are not just jobs, they're global currencies. Okay. Black women are already the fastest growing group in STEM degrees. Now, I know that some of us may have heard from our counterparts that they're trying to promote getting into STEM, but I'm here as an example, as someone who's was in STEM a long time ago, and a lot of us Black women have always been into stuff like this. I'm not gonna say a lot of us, but a nice handful love science. We love healthcare. We love all of that stuff. So I'm just saying that we are seeing an increase in STEM degrees. Now there are other women like Asian women and white women who are in STEM as well, but it's good to see the increase because these are the areas you want to obtain the highest salary as much as possible, the highest benefits for your children as possible. And not only that, again, the skills that you can come away with when you go into these fields. You would never lose these skills unless you just stop, doing the work. But you would never lose these skills, no matter which job, or if you say, hey, I want to take a break and I want to start my own thing, you would never lose these skills compared to maybe some things that possibly can go out of date, right? But you would never lose that, and that's why people get the big bucks because it's a real focus that you got to have to obtain the high salary pay. So we just need to position ourselves just as just not not as just graduates, but as leaders in these spaces. So I'm just giving you the heads up for some of you ladies out there who are looking to do something new. It just takes some pure focus, and you got to focus. You can't bring up no excuses. There is no excuse. If you got kids, you need to find an hour or two every day. I don't care if you're working, you still need to carve out that 1 to 2 hours every day, until you hit a mark where you're saying, okay, I'm going to go apply to be a cybersecurity engineer, or I'm going to be a data scientist. You know, just focus. You need to focus. That means if you need to cut social media off and getting from, thinking that you got to go out all the time, or all these other things that are truly distractions when you're trying to reach a goal, you need to cut them off. It could be a year, it could be a couple of years. Again, if you're an apprentice in a trade, you need to focus. I'm telling you now, with no focus, it's going to show how good you are. So it's a great time to focus on something and wipe out. I don't care if somebody's trying to date you. I'm telling you now, friends, party, like all of that. You're going to have to sacrifice. You understand? There is nothing wrong with you sacrificing so that you can position yourself to the next level. Okay. Now, other areas we can look into is business and finance leadership. Okay. Careers build income, but businesses build wealth. Finance and acquisitions are high value tracks that too few Black women are in. And I noticed that there's not a lot of us in the finance field. And to me, I was like, man, if I could start again, I would go into the finance field because I feel it's very important to our success. When we don't have enough of us in there, it's not only about representation, but it's getting enough in there because you give that information to your kids. You give that information to the next lady by you. You're able to go into your community and really help advance them, and even other communities. I don't want to keep it, minimal to ours. I'm just saying that this field is a great field to look into. So if some of you didn't do well in math or any of that, who cares, right? Focus now. Go out and buy some books and focus now. I went out and just bought a book, an MBA book. I went out and also bought a financial intelligence book. I got several books. When I want to learn something, I go out and get the information, not just online, but I go and I seek out books or whatever information I need so that I can sit my ass down, study it, and then become better at it. Okay. CFOs, private equity partners, mergers and acquisition specialists, these are six-figure to $1 million roles. Franchise owners, real estate developers, venture capital founders. These are the positions that move money, create jobs, and shift power, ladies. Okay? Black women are already leading in entrepreneurship, but most of us are in low revenue industries. So I'm telling you, it's not about making plates. We need to stop thinking of making plates, doing hair, doing nails. I'm telling you, if you focus for a time, you don't ever have to do those things. You don't have to leave that to your daughters to learn that, to keep it going, right? Hair braiding, hair is something big in our culture and it's been in our heritage for eons. Okay. It ain't new because America is here. It's been in our heritage and our culture for eons. So, but there are, even though we succeed in entrepreneurship, most of us are in low revenue industries because I feel we're not taking the time to get to the next level. And again, that's what I'm saying. You got to get rid of the distractions. I don't care who it is, what it is. You need to cut it off. You got to cut it right now. You got to say, I got to cut it off, and I'll see you in a year, or you'll hear from me in 2 years. But you'll be focused in your house, in your study, going to get in a study group. Pure concentrated focus. And I'm telling you, you won't have to do the low revenue stuff. Myself, because I spent that time in the information technology world, it's so easy for me to set up a tech business, right? That's how some of us get paid half a million or more because our value went up. My value at my last job before I took a break was up at $300,000. But my income goal at one point was like, man, I can make probably 500K, you know what I'm saying, a year, right? So I'm just saying 300K lets me know I can go to another job and I deserve to earn way more than that. I should deserve to say, hey, you got to pay me 200K. And there will be a job out there would do that, because I bring them the skill set that said I was at least $300,000 valued at my last job. So use that. That means, and how did I do that? Because I went in, I focused, I would say for this last job, there was many jobs before that, but this last job, it was pretty much like 2 years of like in this isolated world. Who cares if you're being isolated, ladies? Who cares if you got kids and your immediate family? That should really be the thing that matters. But you're going to be in that zone. Like when you're learning something new, you have to focus. Everything has to get cut off. It has to go in order to get the money that you want. Okay. So the next decade is about moving into finance, tech, and acquisitions. This is based on my research. This is what I see. This is what we need to focus on. Who cares what anybody is saying? Again, do not let people pump relationship drama into your life and thinking that's what you need. If that person isn't in these fields, they aren't doing anything or surrounding them, not going to school, and you know that they're going to school or you know that they're obtaining stuff. Some of these, they don't even have to go to school. If it's a child, if you got children and you got to take care of them or switch shifts or any of that stuff, your home needs to become purely focused on these particular fields in order to advance yourself. Okay, so let's go on to the next thing. Now, entrepreneurship meets STEM. As I mentioned before, because I spent several years just grinding and just learning and just focusing, it was so easy for me to create my website. Like I've been making websites like before I got into the IT field, but now I'm way advanced. Now that AI is here, I'm way more advanced than people who, are using it to make websites and projects, right? When some of the AI tools for website building came out, some people were just like, oh, or it's just for, a one-page site or just a MVP site or blah, blah, blah. But me, I'm like, no, I'm going to push this thing because I know how to, make this AI push further, connect my database, check security stuff, what I'm saying? Rebuild certain features, because of that, I was able to pump out at least, I want to say 4 to 5 good, decent projects that are platforms that I can go and sell them as white label, solutions to big companies like B2B sales or offer it to customers, business to consumer as well. So that's the advantage that I have over a lot of people who have not taken advantage of a skill right now. And that's why some of you are not moving forward because you have not honed in on a skill that can set you free for life. It's better to have a skill. When you look at the fellas, and I'm not saying every guy, but there's guys you're going to come into contact with in these fields. They're just really good. And those are the guys you want to get around. Those are the guys that got what it takes. They've been in the field. They're very, very intelligent. They know their tools. They've been through a lot, to come out getting paid the big bucks. That's why they get paid the big bucks. But these are not areas where you cannot go into and make the same amount or more than some of your coworkers or your peers. Okay. Now, entrepreneurship doesn't mean you have to reinvent the wheel. And that, because that's not what I'm saying. You can look at Amazon. How did Jeff Bezos start? Look at his business model. I like membership stuff, concierge business models, because I worked for Costco like years ago, and just getting the understanding of their marketing, I would say, scheme or how membership work. And that was like during the first my first recession, I'll say in 2008. But seeing that, I was just so inspired, and then meeting the CEO, the time I was there was so inspiring to me. So, again, now throughout the years that I've learned so much more, that memory, those things come back to me, and I can easily set up a platform that is membership based or concierge based with all these nice little features like AI now that talks to people or do tasks for people. I have that now, right? So it means combining STEM with ownership. So that's the point you want to reach in the next 5 to 10 years when we're talking about real, true owner. I don't say other entrepreneurship. I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying instead of being on YouTube all the time with something new, grift into this, grift into that. Today you're a real estate agent. The next day, you're talking about something gossip. You don't want to do that. You want to focus on your skill, and that's what you want to see. I follow YouTube channels of people, professionals in all types of field, and that's what their YouTube channel is based on. And we need to see that more on our side. We got a lot of smart women, and I don't see as much compared to seeing a lot of gossip stuff going on, right? So green energy startups, AI SaaS, products, cybersecurity firms. I have my own small firm, concierge medicine clinics, buying existing businesses through acquisitions. And that's a key right there, ladies. Some of you don't even have to start a business. Some of our elders are trying to retire. So you don't even have to go out and get loans and put money into all that stuff. Now, I'm not going to say it's new, but that's how some people or big companies become big companies. An Amazon, Jeff Bezos, he was just a digital books, but now he has planes and delivery trucks and warehouses. So he's gotten into other fields. He's offered medical supplies, everything now. And then he allows entrepreneurs to sell their products outside of his. So this is why he's truly rich as he is. It's not someone just handed him something. I'm telling you, if you're focused and you have a vision and you let the vision drive you, that's why Jeff is where he's at. Like, I don't have an issue with Jeff like that because he is a true American entrepreneur, in my opinion. And I know that because I have the same thought process. A lot of us who think like him have those processes. Think of the innovators. When we're talking about innovating electricity or AC units or whatever we had a part in innovating and creating, you got to understand those people purely focused, no matter what was going on around them, being called all types of names and harassed and bullied, but they stayed focused no matter what, and that's why we know of them today, and that's what you can be inspired on, Black women. So the stat here's the stat: 70% of U.S. small business owners, are nearing retirement. That means tens of thousands of businesses will be for sale in the next decade. So again, you do not need to scrape up. And then I think in my last video, I talked about how our counterparts don't invest a lot into our businesses. Some of them, again, they're low revenue earning businesses because we can't, sell plates. If you're not a caterer, a chef, having your own restaurant, you know what I'm saying? I think you got to start looking at a different route. And these are different routes I'm here to present to you. Okay. And then one more thing, why don't, we always need to start from scratch. You don't have to start from scratch. When I understood this years ago, um, it changed my life. And that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't be in gossip. I don't be in the things that don't matter. Now, when I need my brain to relax, I will watch some BS. I'm not going to lie, but I still stay focused on the skill, on the goal to buy a business, buy a house through deals, making deals. It's important to learn how to negotiate. And I don't think we are strong in that area because some of us may be stressed out. Some of us may think we don't have it, or again, that's all you have to result to. I know Black women who just say things that I feel like they are not, you know what I'm saying? And when I hear about what some of those black women would result to doing, um, it used to bother me, not as much as anymore. I'm not gonna lie. I don't think this is for all black women or just women in general or men. You know what I'm saying? I'm just here to give what I see or what could be possible for people as the same as it was possible for me. You know, so I hear defeatist mindsets a lot. I come across them a lot. And I never defeat myself in that way. I never have, no matter what friends I had. Like I stayed focused regardless. And some people will never see that, ladies. They will never see the grind. They never see how you be in your books, you're on your computer, tinkering, building stuff. Some people may think you're on your computer doing nothing, but it's like, no, that's what you do on your computer. You do absolutely nothing. And that's why it's easy for you to make more money than them in like a matter of time, like probably short. It depends how hard you want to go, right? It depends how hard you want to go in order for you to obtain that. So all I'm going to say is we can buy, build, and scale. Okay, we got to start looking at that, ladies. Now I know there's some barriers. I know there are. There were barriers, but my mindset, I don't really try to think of anything is going to stop me. It's more about I know this is a possibility for me. I believe in myself enough. I believe I can obtain the skill. Who do I talk to? How do I get around? And how do I advance myself or position myself to have another win for myself? The only competition I've ever been in was my own competition. I've been around people who compete with me and I've already won. And I'm telling you, that's really going to be the case with a lot of you when you're staying focused on a skill because they're not looking at it that way, right? And hey, whoever, if they, make it or people make it that are in your life and want to keep you down or whatever. That's why I'm saying you got to cut everything off, cut all distractions off. Don't get no drama. That ain't your, what I'm saying? Like just, hey, don't get into it. I'm telling you now, if you focus in the next 5 to 10 years, you will come out on top for yourself. You know what I'm saying? So we can't ignore those barriers. We just can't, right? So that's why more of us need to get into these fields to ease those barriers because men are still dominating. And it's not, I'm not saying going out here and think of it as, man, I'm competing to get a man's, work, compete against a man. I don't think like that. I just wanted to go out because I thought it was so cool. I thought I had a good skill to obtain, like I just really think like that. I don't ever think of, oh, I'm about to go compete with someone because I know there's a lot out there. When people start thinking in a small mind, as if it's scarcity, you can just sit back and watch how those people react. So less than 1% of U.S. venture capital goes to Black women founders. I'm going to say that again. Less than 1% of U.S. venture capital goes to Black women founders. Now, I know, and I'm sorry I'm forgetting the company, but a year or two ago, they wanted to invest in a Black woman. That's a nice step, right? But we don't have enough of our own community contributing. I don't try to look at white people being the all and be all to, fund me. I know I have to go out there because they have money and they believe in my projects. They believe in me, right? Other communities as well. And when you're out there, you'll see it. You'll see it, man. They will invest into your ass if you got what it takes because they don't want to see it as you're just some black woman, whatever. Like they do want to support you. There are some nasty people, but there's really people who just want to support you and they will. You just gotta stay focused, right? So, and then again, we don't have the counterparts, even the counterparts who are making $13 an hour, to those that saying they're making 100K, to those who's saying they're going to become truckers, to those who saying they're making more money. All of that should have been reinvested back into the community and back into entrepreneurship. Since Black women are leading that, it would have been a great power up to say, hey, I'm going to invest into that sister's firm, her cybersecurity firm, or I'm going to invest into that sister's finance, her private equity company, and she's going to help me invest in businesses that has cash flow, so that I don't have to just depend on my job. I have extra income for bills or hard times, or putting your children through school, or maybe a medical situation comes up. You'll have that money now because you're thinking on a higher scale. And I'm telling you now, you need to think higher. Again, I'm going to say it again. There's nothing wrong with people want to make plates, but I'm telling you, if you take your time to learn the skill, you never have to look at doing those mundane things, because those things will go away, or they're for the next generation to get the work ethic, right? So when we're talking about venture capital, we're losing there, ladies. We're losing there. And we can win more if we go out and obtain the skills, and we have more of us with these jobs, with these high income salaries. And that's where that venture capital money will start to come in. So we don't have to depend on everyone else, right? That's why cooperative lending, grants, SBA programs, and creative financing are vital. These are areas of finance and funding you need to learn, you need to understand, you need to know from the top to the bottom changes, whatever. You need to know how to make deals, deal structures. Even if you don't get into finance, you just need to know that if you're trying to run your own business. When you're working in trade, or you're working in the STEM field, learn what your, if you can, learn what your top executives are doing, what they're saying, what needs to be presented to them, your HR team, these things you want to learn while you're earning, so that when you start your own company, you know exactly the talent and the skill you need to scale up, So this is why it's very important. Mentorship matters. The master teacher. I love the idea of a master teacher, an apprenticeship. That's what you want to go out and get. Black women must build networks that share knowledge in trades, in STEM, and in business. We have some communities out there, but we need to continue to make those communities strong, and they're focused on the skill, meaning it shouldn't be a community that's talking about gossip. If it's a community that's supposed to be about your particular area of study, that's what you need to focus on. If no one's in there talking about that, and they want to talk about men and what's going on and these people, like, you have to get away from that, because that's not the focus. Focus on those things when it's not time to study. Focus on those things in a group that's solely about that, right? But if you see any of that going on, you need to remove yourself immediately so you can get to the money. I'm just saying, you need, when I mean sacrifice. None of that is going to matter to you in the long run, right? Because the community is the power, right? Now, the roadmap. This is just my idea of a roadmap. You can use ChatGPT with this. You can figure out your own roadmap. I've done that plenty of times. I used to create my own class schedule, meaning I would say these are the areas I want to focus on, and I would create a class schedule for a certain quarter of the year. And that's how I focus. You really have to think like that, ladies. You really have to think like that, right? So here's the roadmap. Here's the roadmap. Step one, pick a future proof field. Pick something that you want to make a lot of money in. Just pick one, right? I showed you a few on this presentation. You just need to pick one. Step two, upskill. Get certified, get the degree, or get the apprenticeship. That needs to be the focus. Your networking matters, your degrees matter, your certifications matter. The apprenticeship, where you're getting the skill and building on the skill, it matters, okay? Step three, secure the six-figure job or contract. Now, some of you may not earn six figures starting out, and that's okay. You may earn the 50, you may get 60, 70. That is okay, because you're here grinding for 5 to 10 years. So in that 5 to 10 years, you're more than likely to hit that income level that you're looking for. But 60K, 70K, 80K is still a nice starting ground for you. Now, some of you may be in fields that may already start you out at 90K, and that's fine, right? Because you spent that time. So I'm just saying that's how you want to look at it. Don't look at peers and think, oh, I'm not making this, and I'm not making that, and I got to stop competing with everybody else and start competing with yourself, okay? You'll always win against yourself, okay? Step four, use that income to invest in assets. Now that we got the big money, we the big woman now, we the big dogs now. Okay, when you become a big dog, now you need to get you a financial advisor, or some of your coworkers. They really, know how to manage their money. That's why they got money and still be doing all kind of fun, cool stuff, right? Investing in stuff, got houses, got trips that they can go to because they started to invest. So now we're talking about acquisition. Now you can go out and still work your job and invest into a business that has good cash flow and make more money now, than you're making. Step five, scale into entrepreneurship and acquisitions. So those for those ladies who want to go into entrepreneurship, because I love talking about it. I think we've got to continue to make that go. That's kind of the way you want to do it. You want to scale into entrepreneurship and acquisitions. You don't have to leave your job. If you love what you do, love what you do. But you want to also make sure that either entrepreneurship or acquisitions is something you're going to move into next or invest into next. Some people invest in the stock market. You can definitely do that. But investing in real estate, you can still do that. But looking into acquisitions, buying businesses is another great avenue to build wealth and earn a high cash flow for you and your family, right? Now, in closing, Black women have proven we can outpace expectations. So the proof is already out there. You don't need to prove nothing else to nobody else but yourself. Okay, not even the current regime. You do not need to prove nothing but yourself. I don't even take that seriously. Telling someone they got low IQ, I don't even take it seriously. Why? Because I work with people who appreciate my work ethic, and they trust me. They believe in me enough to hire me to have me implement a solution or come into a meeting with executives to talk about something. They are there already. You already are proving it. Now it's about time to prove it to yourself, right? Now it's about putting ourselves in the industries that build nations. And this is the future. So if you're around people who are not talking like this, they want to tell you, they want to speak in tones to have you wait on other people like counterparts and stuff like that. This ain't the time. This is not the time. Again, we got a wealth gap situation going on. And the only way to help close it is to smarten up on how we're going to approach our careers, our entrepreneurship, our money in the next 5 to 10 years, right? So STEM, trades, finance, acquisitions are great areas for Black women to focus on. So out of those, pick one of them and stick to it and try to obtain the highest income that you can so that you can invest not into buying a business or other cash flow or other investments, but you can also invest in businesses that other Black women have, like a firm or a finance company, private equity. You can invest in more of those now, or you can hear other Black women out and you be the Shark Tank now. You see what I'm going with this? So that's how we got to start moving. That means you got to let this other stuff go. If you're dating, I don't like to talk about a lot of stuff, but I know some of us are wrapped up in that world. And this is what I'm trying to break your mind off of to understand it's about your skill set. As women, we got to continue to obtain skills. We can't come into a free world and be like, we just gonna make plates when shit gets hard. Like, you don't got to make plate. You go out there and you figure out how to, because I earn already enough already. So how can I do more with the skills I have? I don't never have to look back. You can teach your kids now and make it a family business. You see what I'm going with this? We are not just participants. We are the architects of the future economy. We are. We really are. And the next decade is ours to claim. And I'm telling you now, ladies, if you do not take advantage, other people will. Other people are. But there's people who are just giving up. They gave up because they don't want to do the work. They don't want to spend the hours. They rather be online all day talking. They rather put someone else down because they're afraid. They rather tell companies they shouldn't hire women because they can't get a job. Like, we don't want to hear that. No real companies out there give a damn about that. They want the best that they can get with the best income, and some of these jobs are going to invest in you, meaning they're going to invest in your education. When you're getting those benefit packages or when you're on an interview, you want to ask that, how do you guys invest in my education? Not paying off your education. I mean, invest, meaning they're sending you places where you can learn more. You take advantage. Don't use those times when you're sent somewhere to learn something or getting some time off to go to study or something. Those companies are spending ten thousands or more dollars on a course because they're expensive out there, right? So if they're doing that, you need to take advantage of that to be better, because they're saying we want you here for a while because we see the potential in you and we want to realize it, and we're investing into you so we can see that realization. And again, in 5 to 10 years, that's all it takes, just pure focus. You're going to miss out on some things. You don't have to, but you should learn to sacrifice some stuff so that the rest of your life is the best of your life. Especially women out there who are either single or you may be a single mom out there. This is what I'm presenting so that you focus and get the skills, and you will never have to worry about being disappointed by anyone or anything, because you're like, yo, I got a skill, I can go to any job I want, I don't have to work under some duress, I don't have to feel oppressed in my home, I can live in a better neighborhood with people who our community. I can invest more into maybe homelessness or philanthropic, quest maybe that you have to feed the hungry, or medication or research teams. We can have more of that if we stop looking to defeat ourselves, right? I do not defeat myself because there's so much opportunity, so much possibility, and those before us have already shown the way under way more oppression and duress than we are ever experiencing today. So just to take this in, really focused on an area that you want to pursue and get to work. Just get to work and focus, and we'll see you on the other side. Thank you for listening to my presentation. Please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and you guys have a great day.